Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today we're going to go through an updated 2018 gubernatorial elections map. Essentially just all the governor elections that are coming up in 2018. So I'm going to be redoing this because the one before didn't really take into account a lot more of the Democratic wave that has been pretty much upcoming. And it's going to look really bad for the GOP. But they already do have some popular incumbents in solid Democratic states, but those states can flip. States like my own Maryland, Massachusetts, Vermont, but we're going to see how that all plays out with the popularity of incumbents and just see how it works. So we already know a couple states, states like Oregon and California. These are probably going to stay Democratic. I mean, they have popular Democratic incumbents, solid Democratic states. They didn't really let a Republican in, so they don't really know what it's like that much. So there are other Republican states that wouldn't necessarily be for play that are for play in 2018 now because of the Democratic wave. States like Kansas, pretty much Kansas has a really unpopular Republican governor. States like Tennessee, Georgia, states like that. But Idaho, some of these more solid Republican states we know are probably going to stay Republican. Nebraska as well. But then going down to Texas, that one's a little tricky. If you think about Texas and where it stands, it's not that much of a Republican state, but they do have a popular incumbent. He's eligible to run for re-election. He's probably going to if he didn't already announce. So I think that one would probably stay. Going over to Arizona, that's the one that I don't want to touch just yet. Hawaii, we know this one's probably going to be safe Democratic, so I'm going to leave that one there. Alaska, another toss-up. Oklahoma, Mary Fallin is not that popular, being completely honest. If you think about it, she's not really that Republican that they all look up to. She won, but then it didn't look necessarily the greatest. I mean, her approval rating dropped. Everything she did in her administration, personally, I'm going to leave that one in the Republican column. But yeah, so I'm not going to fill them in by shades, by shaded regions. I may do that in a future updated prediction. I'm probably going to do one of these every so often, maybe once a month, so I can actually update these and not just leave you guys hanging for 2 months, because these are very important. These are crucial to the outcome of the 2018 general election, so these need to come out fast. Going up to Michigan, we know we have Rick Steiner here. Honestly, this one's going to go Democratic, and the reason behind it is we have a Democratic wave incoming. And Rick Snyder's Flint, Michigan crisis, everything he's done in his administration in Michigan has given him an unpopularity rating. He barely won 4 years ago, so honestly, I leave that one in the Democratic column. Same thing in Minnesota. Mark Dayton, somewhat popular, although he did leave. Although he is leaving office, I still think that the Democrats will nominate someone to hold on to that seat. Going over to the state of Wisconsin, I mean Scott Walker. That's a tricky one here because he's really good. He survived a recall election and then went on to win re-election, and now he's running for a third term. You go over to Wisconsin and you expect him to lose, but he's somewhat popular and he does know how to drive out the vote. However, this is, again, a Democratic wave year. He's gotten lucky in off years. A lot more things are going to happen. He's running for a third term that may not help him necessarily, so I'm actually not going to touch that one just yet, and we'll come back to it. Illinois, they have a very unpopular Republican governor. Honestly, I'm going to leave that one in the Democratic column only because I think that the Democrats will be able to pick up that seat just based off the Republicans' unpopularity, much like Mark Kirk and Tammy Baldwin, if you think about it. And then we go over to, I'm actually going to go over to some more solid Democratic states like my own Maryland, pretty much states like that, just to see how it all weighs out. So Maryland, I think that one will go to the GOP. Now my reasoning behind it is my governor is the second most popular governor in the United States, and he's from Maryland. Right now he's polling 48% average, and that's with undecided not factored in, meaning there's still a lot of the vote that's out that could go to him, and he's already starting off with 48%. I think he could win re-election. Going up to Massachusetts, we have another popular Republican governor from a Democratic state, Charlie Baker, the most popular governor in the United States. I don't see him losing anytime soon. Going up to Vermont, this is a liberal Republican state. I mean, they vote Democratic, but this is the most Republican state in the Union, according to past voting history. They voted Republican the most times, but they're always called at poll closings for the Democrats. That's because they are liberal Republicans, essentially. They elect Republicans on governor races because they are pretty much liberal Democrats, just going under the Republican name. I guess a rhino, per se. But then we're going to go all the way over to New York. That one's going to be solidly Democratic. Now, the map used to include Virginia and New Jersey, so we're not going to talk about those because those are already a done deal. But going up to Maine, I at first gave this one to the GOP. Now I'm thinking it's going to go to the Democratic Party. Suzanne Collins is not going to run in Maine. It's not going to be good for the GOP if she doesn't run. They're not going to run any good candidates. They're starting out their new voting system. Everything favors a new Democratic wave when this comes up. Now we're going to go back to the West Coast because a lot of these states over here, there's not going to be a lot of talking about. So I want to talk more about these states with higher Latino populations. Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico, I'm all going to give to the Democratic Party. Now my reasoning behind it is I think with the incoming Democratic wave, with some unpopular Republicans leaving, it's not going to look good for the GOP in these states. I mean, they have a retiring Republican in both Nevada and New Mexico, and a retiring Democrat in Colorado. Colorado has John Hickenlooper, and then we go down to New Mexico, whose current incumbent is Susana Martinez. She's somewhat popular, but she is a Republican. And right now, it's leaning Democratic according to other pollsters. Honestly, I agree with that rating. But then going over to Nevada, it's a little bit more of a toss-up. They have Brian Sandoval, but it's considered a toss-up. However, I still think that it would go to the Democratic Party just based off the Democratic wave. A lot of these toss-ups will be turning Democratic because of the wave. Again, the incumbent president's party will always lose seats regardless. The only time they didn't was after 9/11 in 2002. Then we go over to, say, like Arkansas. We know that one's going to be reliably Republican. Alabama as well. Tennessee, well, Tennessee, honestly, Bill Halsum, I would leave that one safe Republican. I mean, they don't have any known figures running in that race. South Carolina, I also think that one would be a little bit, I think the black turnout will make it a little bit closer than it normally is, but it's still going to be reliably Democratic. Georgia, I'm going to leave that one in the GOP column again. Although this will be a Democratic wave year, it's still Georgia, and they do have Nathan Deal. But unless they nominate someone like Stacey Evans, which they probably will, but even with that factored in, it's still going to be a GOP hold. It just might be closer. Going down to a state like Florida. So in the state of Florida, we have a retiring incumbent, and that's Rick Scott. I mean, he's the head of the RGA, but honestly, this state is probably going to go to the Democratic Party. And the reasoning behind it is, again, Democratic wave year, unpopular incumbent. We have multiple factors that aid the Democratic Party in 2018 that I didn't originally take into effect in my other videos. Going over to Iowa, this one should be a Republican hold. The reasoning behind it is Iowa's very popular. Iowa's governor is very popular, and it's not going to flip. I mean, after what we saw in 2018, even with spiked African American turnout, it's probably not going to flip. Same thing in Ohio. Popular incumbent leaving, of course. One of the most popular governors leaving, John Kasich. I mean, he won with around 66% of the vote in 2000. When was it? I think it was, maybe it was 2014. I don't remember. But I know he definitely won by a considerable margin. That was very surprising. But other than that, I think this one will retain in the GOP column again. But then going up to New Hampshire, they do have an somewhat unpopular incumbent Republican governor. I mean, he did just now end up on the top 10 most popular governors, so I'm going to leave that one in the GOP. But going over to Connecticut and Rhode Island, both of these states I think would go to the Democratic Party. Now, I understand Connecticut has a very unpopular Democratic governor, but again, Democratic wave year outweighs that. If you think about it, we have Connecticut, although, again, unpopular Democratic governor, the most unpopular governor besides Chris Christie. That's still going to be a Democratic state. It's still a Democratic state from 2016. I still see it staying in the Democratic column. Now we have a couple more states to call. Going over to Pennsylvania, we have Tom Wolf. That one's going to stay Democratic. Going over to Wisconsin, honestly, I don't see a way for Scott Walker to win at this point. He has some other Democratic names that could possibly unseat him. Honestly, although he is running for a third term, with his mild popularity, I think just the party, just people getting tired of the party, and overall, I think that one would go to the Democratic Party, and it would be a flip. So now we're at 23 Democrats to 24 Republicans, making considerable gains. And my other prediction, I gave the Democrats 23 seats, and that's how much they have now. But then we're going to go fill in a couple other states. So we have a state like Kansas. Sam Brownback, this is not good for the GOP whatsoever. He's leaving a bad taste when you say the word Republican in Kansas. His popularity is very low. There's a number of candidates. One of my friends is a high schooler. He's also running for governor as a Republican, but I'm going to leave this one in the Democratic column. I originally left this one in the Independent column. Honestly, if the Independent did win, they would caucus with the Democratic Party regardless, and I think the Democratic Party has a better chance at picking this up than the GOP has of holding it. And that's due to a number of factors, and the fact that the GOP left a bad taste in Kansas's mouth when they gave Sam Brownback 4 years in office. So now we have Arizona and Alaska. So Arizona and Alaska, you know, these states, one has a Republican governor, Arizona, and one has a independent governor, Alaska. Honestly, I think both of them will go to the Democratic Party. Now, hear me out before you call me biased or whatever for this prediction. I meant independent by that, but honestly, Bill Walker is somewhat popular in Alaska. I mean, with the Democratic Party support, he can unite. He can get a lot of the Republican vote, get all of the Democratic vote put together. That goes over the 40% Republicans that are going against him. They do have some known names, but I think this primary in Alaska is going to be brutal, and I think whoever comes out is going to split the party vote. And that's not going to be good for those in Alaska, especially the GOP in Alaska. Going over to Arizona, Doug Ducey, who's an incumbent, I think that someone like David Garcia, Steve Farley is the nominee, running up Latino turnout, running up the vote. As we saw in Alabama, it is possible. This is not a solid Republican seat. I mean, a lot of these states were considered solid at one point, but now we have Trump in office, and it's not looking good for the GOP. It's looking, honestly, likely Republican, but I think with the extended turnout we see on the Democratic side, a lot of these likely states, a lot of these toss-ups, a lot of these leaning states could flip to the Democratic Party. I think as time goes on, I think that the Democratic Party will solidify their base in Arizona, especially with this upcoming 2018 Senate. I think they're going to be campaigning for both really hard, and I think they actually have a strong chance at winning. So this is the final governor map, 26 Democrats essentially to 24 Republicans. Yeah, I didn't factor in any territories, but this is the final gubernatorial map. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you all tomorrow.